Welcome to Decode It, a podcast series helping understand more about computer technologies and its beginnings. I'm Ashley Griffin, involved in IT from the 1980s, first with the Atari ST, then onto computer networks in the early 1990s. The PS2 keyboard and mouse connections. To have computers in the office, it required input devices such as a keyboard. Home PCs such as the Spectrum, the Atari and the Amiga have the keyboards built in. When PCs started to be sold in retail in 1984, the keyboard had a standard connector being a large, round audio-style 5-pin DIN. About a year later, a Windows-based desktop called GEM, Graphics Environment Manager, came around and required a mouse to use. The mouse originally used the very standard COM-based serial connection, which was normally via a 9-pin D-sub connector. Even though the Atari ST run the same Windows GEM system, the PC-style mouse would not work on the Atari ST or Commodore Amiga, as they had a proprietary communication even though the connector was the same. While in business in the very early 1990s, I remember well this old-style keyboard connector and used to have many serial-type mice lying around. In 1987, a standard was established called PS/2, or pronounced PS2, and was a mauve and green connector. The mauve was Pantone Color 2715C and the green was Pantone Color 3395C. They were small 6-pin mini DIN style connectors used for both the keyboard and mouse. Mauve was for the keyboard and green was for the mouse, making both smaller and easier to identify which connector to use. The mauve PS2 style connector is electrically identical to the old 5-pin DIN keyboards, making the switchover very easy. Same keyboard having a new connector. The green mouse, however, is not, moving away from a serial COM-based communication. Both the PS2 keyboard and mouse used a similar communication method, where the keyboard was in essence port 1 and the mouse was port 2, however was proprietary. Both used a clock-based protocol slightly biased to receive data from the keyboard or mouse, but also was able to return data. The protocol is very similar to the old-style serial communications and allow control of items like the caps lock indicator and those multi-LED backlit keyboards. As the mauve keyboard connector was electrically identical to the old IBM AT/XT 5-pin DIN connectors, adapters were common to connect an old-style keyboard to the newer 6-pin mini DIN mauve connector. Due to both the keyboard and mouse using the same protocols, each only having an identifier to identification which channel to use, laptops started to emerge with a single 6-pin mini DIN connector that had both the mauve and green colour, as either a keyboard or mouse could be plugged into the same port. It would read the data channel and adapt the port accordingly. Later, keyboards started appearing with both USB and PS2 connections. My shipping with a USB, then an adapter to plug into the PS2 port. These small adapters were only passive in that it was just a wiring change. The keyboard and mouse was able to communicate on both PS2 and USB protocols. The adapters would not work on a USB mouse that did not have the PS2 protocol built in, such as all keyboards and mice shipped today. We disposed of all of these adapters as really or no use in today's technology. As of 2023, some systems were still sold with the PS2 connector, even though it's deprecated and considered legacy. The reason for this is it allows companies to totally disable the USB ports while still being able to connect to keyboard and mouse. Today, all input devices are USB, which generally replace both PS2 and serial connections. Although in manufacturing, serial is still in use on very old machinery hardware. We have designed and sold conversion technologies that will allow these old machines to communicate with a current Windows 11 PC while remain working with the existing software. Thank you for spending some time with me. Subscribe to see more in the Decode It series.